We're not using the Emergencies Act to call in the military. We're not suspending fundamental rights or overriding the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We are not limiting people's freedom of speech. We are not limiting freedom of peaceful assembly. We are not preventing people from exercising their right to protest legally.
Everywhere around the world, people are saying, "Oh, Canada, what's going on in our great nation?" Well, for the first time, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has implemented the Emergency Act. Pretty unprecedented, but we are in unprecedented times. Brian Lilley is with me, and the question so many people have on their mind is Justin Trudeau was nowhere to be found for weeks of the protests and, well, for the most part of this pandemic. And now he's gone ahead with something that is quite significant. Can you tell us, has he gone too far?
Well, I wouldn't say that he was absent from everything, Adrienne. He was out there throwing gasoline on the fire for weeks. Remember, he called the people coming in this convoy a small fringe minority with unacceptable views. He called people who disagreed with him on vaccine mandates misogynists and racists. He has been stoking the flames of this for months now. As his own MP, Joel Lightbound, said, he used it as a wedge issue. He used it for political gain. Then it turned around and bit him on the butt. He was, very much absent. He literally went into hiding at the Prime Minister's cottage in Harrington Lake, went skiing all day last Saturday, as we found out later on. And now he's come out to use the Emergencies Act. How about being prime ministerial, turning down the temperature? You don't have to go into full-scale negotiations with the people behind the truckers' convoy, because really, who do you talk to? There is no one leader. It's a group that started with one leader, but has grown and grown. So he could have done a lot of things before he got to this point, but he didn't do it. The police in Ottawa didn't handle this properly. And eventually, I guess they felt they needed to act.
So Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland weighed in on this, and here's what she had to say.
As of today, all crowdfunding platforms and the payment service providers they use must register with FINTRAC, and they must report large and suspicious transactions to FINTRAC. We are making these changes because we know that these platforms are being used to support illegal blockades and illegal activity, which is damaging the Canadian economy. The government is issuing an order with immediate effect under the Emergencies Act, authorizing Canadian financial institutions to temporarily cease providing financial services where the institution suspects that an account is being used to further the illegal blockades and occupations. This order covers both personal and corporate accounts. As of today, a bank or other financial service provider will be able to immediately freeze or suspend an account without a court order. We are today serving notice. If your truck is being used in these illegal blockades, your corporate accounts will be frozen. The insurance on your vehicle will be suspended. Send your semi-trailers home.
So, Brian, this is the aspect of the act that I don't think many Canadians understand. It spreads its tentacles potentially into your bank account. Is this legal?
That's going to be a question that is probably going to be taken to the courts. I think overall, using the act is legal, and the government has laid out its markers for why it thinks so, including pointing to foreign funding from American sources. Not half of the money, but half of the donations came from American sources, and they're going to point to that and say, see, this is a foreign-funded insurrection in Canada, we can use the act. But when you start getting into how you go after people's bank accounts, adding in cryptocurrency to the FINTRAC system. Now, FINTRAC's there for a very good reason. It was brought in to track organized crime money, to track terrorist funding. Cryptocurrency hasn't been a part of it. They say they're going to make it permanent, and using the Emergencies Act to do that is going to leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths and lead to even more court challenges. So there's a lot of questions around exactly what they're doing. And we're going to be getting more details over the coming days, because this overall law allows cabinet to issue orders. And then when they issue an order allowing something to happen or directing something to happen, that then has to be published and go to Parliament. So we're going to see more acts come out of this, and we're going to see more challenges and a lot of questions over the specifics. As they always say, the devil's in the details, Adrienne.
The Canadian Civil Liberties Association, Brian, has said that this is an overreach. Well, that they basically said that it is a very high threshold to meet the requirements to implement or to actually pass the Emergency Act. They're saying that the government has not met that. So will this work? I know the devil's in the details, as we've already said, with respect to the Emergency Act, Brian, but whatever he decides to implement in terms of what Trudeau's plans are, can it work, or have the protesters just said, we're staying, we're not going anywhere?
Look, a lot of that, when it comes to the Ottawa protest, that's a bigger question. The borders, I think, will be cleared fairly quickly. But when it comes to Ottawa, the police force in charge remains the Ottawa police. And if you saw what they did when the mayor of Ottawa negotiated all the trucks to be moved out of the residential neighborhoods onto the hill, they packed those trucks in there like sardines. How do you get them out there, even if you are using the Emergencies Act to force a towing company operator against their will to tow them out? They're cheek by jowl. So this thing just got messier. A lot of the blame does lie with the Ottawa police chief, but it's going to wear and going to stick with Justin Trudeau for years to come.
And who could forget all those years ago when Justin Trudeau was running to become our prime minister, and he talked about basic dictatorships, a word that's actually being used to describe him right now. Have a look.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China, because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime.
As they say, when someone shows you who they are, you should believe them. So what do you think? Did Justin Trudeau's government overstep? Have they gone too far? Or is this the right move? Log on to Facebook and Twitter. Let us know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.